Why did Taehyung break down in Jungkook's arms? What made this emotional moment bring the entire fandom to tears? Watch until the end, leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because this is the kind of story that will stay in your heart forever. The room was silent, yet the air trembled with emotion. Under the dim light of the hospital corridor, two familiar figures stood close, one trembling, the other barely holding back his tears. Taehyung's voice broke as he whispered Jungkook's name, his trembling hands reaching out as if afraid the person before him would disappear if he blinked. How could something so terrifying end with a moment so beautiful, so heartbreakingly human? No one expected to see this side of them, not after everything that had happened. But there they were, two souls caught between pain and relief, proving once again that love, friendship, and loyalty were the strongest things holding them together. Taehyung's tears fell fast, glistening under the soft glow of the room. He couldn't stop himself from sobbing as Jungkook wrapped his arms around him, holding him tight as if to reassure him, "I'm here. I'm alive." That embrace wasn't just a hug. It was a promise. A promise that after fear, after chaos, after the haunting news that almost shattered the hearts of millions, they still had each other. Taehyung buried his face against Jungkook's shoulder, and the world seemed to stop. For a few seconds, nothing else mattered, not fame, not cameras, not the noise outside. Only the rhythm of two beating hearts that had just survived something unimaginable. What really happened that night that made Taehyung cry like that? What was he so afraid of losing? Fans had only heard fragments of the story. The sudden emergency, the shocking silence from HYB, the endless worry spreading through the fandom like wildfire. And now to see Taehyung's tears, not on stage, not in a scripted scene but in reality, made everyone's heart ache. He wasn't the global superstar. He wasn't the face of elegance and calmness that fans often saw in interviews. He was Kim Taehyung, a man who almost lost someone he deeply cared about. And Jungkook, the golden magne, wasn't the unshakable performer that fans knew. He was simply Jungkook, the boy who had seen fear in its purest form and come out alive. As the cameras quietly captured the scene from afar, the world collectively held its breath. No one dared to interrupt. No one wanted to ruin that fragile moment where tears spoke louder than any words could. Taehyung's fingers clung to Jungkook's jacket, his voice barely audible as he said, "Thank you. Thank you for coming back to me." It was raw, real, and heartbreaking. Every syllable carried the weight of nights spent in prayer, of fear that he might never see Jungkook again, of gratitude that words could never fully express. Jungkook didn't respond with words, he didn't have to. He just pulled Taehyung closer, his eyes glistening, his silence saying everything. How did they reach this point? How did two people who have always seemed unshakable find themselves in a moment this vulnerable? Maybe it was because fame doesn't shield you from pain. Maybe because even stars cry when someone they love gets hurt. Maybe because deep down they're still just human, two boys from Busan and Daegu who dreamed big and built a world together, now facing the reality that even the strongest hearts can break. The fans watching through trembling fingers felt it too. The fear, the relief, the love. The hashtags exploded, the world started talking, but inside that quiet room time froze. There was no music playing, yet the sound of Taehyung's sobs was its own melody, a song of gratitude, of love, of unspoken promises. Jungkook gently brushed away the tears on his face, his voice calm but shaky as he whispered, "Don't cry. I'm okay now." But how could Taehyung not cry? When you almost lose someone who's been by your side through everything. The laughter, the exhaustion, the dreams, the loneliness. Tears are the only language the heart knows. Fans around the world felt their own tears fall as clips of that embrace spread online, their hearts swelling with emotion. It wasn't just a hug. It was a story of survival, of brotherhood, of faith, and that moment, all the pain, the fear, and the uncertainty melted away. Taehyung finally let go of the fear that had haunted him for days, and Jungkook finally let himself breathe again. It wasn't just relief, it was rebirth. You could see it in the way Taehyung smiled through his tears, in the way Jungkook laughed softly as he held him tighter. It was the kind of moment that reminded everyone why BTS's bond was something beyond words, something that couldn't be broken, no matter what life threw at them. But what did Jungkook whisper that made Taehyung's eyes widen again? Fans could only guess. Some said he thanked him for never leaving. Others said he promised something only the two of them could understand. Whatever it was, it made Taehyung's tears flow once more. But this time they were tears of gratitude. Gratitude that he didn't lose him. Gratitude that they could still stand there, side by side, stronger than ever. Even after everything, Taehyung turned to the camera, still holding Jungkook's hand, and said softly, "Please, protect him." That single sentence sent chills through the fandom. It wasn't just a request to the fans, it was a plea to the universe. A wish whispered through tears. Because for him, Jungkook wasn't just a bandmate, he was family. The kind of bond that isn't formed on stage but in moments of pain, fear, and healing. And as the video ended, millions were left in silence. Some were crying, some were praying, and others simply sat there, unable to express what they felt. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just another emotional scene between idols. This was real. This was the kind of moment that reminds you why you care, why you follow, why you believe in the power of love and friendship. Because even after the storm, after the heartbreak, after the near tragedy, Taehyung and Jungkook stood there together, showing the world that light always finds its way back to us. So, what do you think really happened behind that embrace? What did Taehyung whisper that made Jungkook's eyes soften like that? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this moment touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us as we uncover more stories that remind us that even the brightest stars cry, love, and hold on, just like us. The silence after that hug was louder than any scream, heavier than any applause. It lingered in the air, thick with the weight of everything they'd been through. Taehyung still hadn't let go, his fingers clutching the fabric of Jungkook's shirt as if afraid he might vanish if he loosened his grip. Jungkook's heartbeat was steady beneath his touch, strong, alive, real. And that alone made Taehyung's tears fall harder. How close had they come to losing this? How close had Jungkook come to being another memory carved in pain? The thought made his body shake again, and Jungkook tightened his embrace, whispering softly, "I'm here, Tae. I'm not going anywhere." But even as he said it, Taehyung could hear the faint tremor in his voice, the kind that comes after you've been through something you can't quite explain, something that leaves scars deeper than the skin. It wasn't just the break-in, the fear, or the chaos. It was the haunting realization of fragility, that even the strongest, most unbreakable people can fall. And in that realization, something changed between them. They weren't just brothers in music anymore, they were brothers in survival. The moment spread online within minutes. Fans who had been refreshing their feeds for updates suddenly froze when the first shaky video surfaced. Taehyung crying in Jungkook's arms, his voice muffled against his shoulder, Jungkook holding him as if the world would end if he didn't. "Is this real?" One fan wrote, "I can't believe what I'm seeing." Others simply wrote, "Protect them." The comment sections flooded with prayers, heart emojis, and trembling words of love. Everyone felt it, the rawness, the honesty, the vulnerability that no script could ever recreate. Inside that small hospital room, time still moved slowly. The faint hum of machines, the steady rhythm of the clock, and the soft sound of Taehyung's crying filled the space. Jungkook reached up, gently lifting his chin. Their eyes met, and in that silent exchange, everything that needed to be said was spoken without words. Gratitude, fear, relief, love, everything. Jungkook smiled faintly, his lips trembling as he whispered, "You cried too much, Hyung." Taehyung laughed weakly through the tears, a sound that broke and healed hearts at the same time. "I thought I lost you," he murmured, his voice breaking again. The world outside that room continued spinning, reporters shouting questions, fans gathering outside, lights flashing from distant cameras, but none of that mattered. Inside it was just them. Two souls who had shared the same dreams, the same stage, and now the same pain.